Can better daily habits make you more successful? Well, we're in good hands thinking about this subject because it was Aristotle who said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. And Ralph Waldo Emerson said, sow a thought and you reap an action. Sow an act and you reap a habit. Sow a habit and you reap a character. Sow a character and you reap a destiny. I love that, man. That's just good stuff, right? Aristotle and Ralph Waldo Emerson. So let's get into this. What are the daily habits of successful people? Now, again, these are some of the same things that I have learned over the years myself. I've done a lot of studying with all the greats, I think, of our modern era, especially folks like Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy actually has a video about this same subject. You could Google that and see it. I think he has something like 5 million views. And I listened to it and I thought it was good. I thought I had a few tweaks on it myself. So I wanted to bring that in here and tell you what I've learned doing this myself to become more successful. And this is an everyday thing for me, trying to become more and more successful. And you can find that the way you want. But also, as a coach, I've learned a lot. I see how to help people bring in new habits. It's very difficult because people are very stuck in their ways. So let's get into the points here, okay? How do you do this even if you feel stuck? Number one, you write down daily goals and you prioritize tasks to complete those goals. Now, if you are watching the video version of this versus the audio, I am holding up a yellow legal pad right next to me and the pen. And I do this regularly. I write down ideas. In fact, before I even write down the daily goals, I just try to capture the ideas out of my head and onto paper. Then I organize them into the goals that matter. And then I circle the one that looks like the most important one to me. And what happens then is all of a sudden my brain is being edited out as to what goal is important. And then once I see that goal, I know the tasks that I have to complete and I write those down too. So I actually just went out and bought a couple more journals so that on the fly I could do this, but I leave a yellow legal pad here in my office and then at home as well. Number two, focus on taking action towards achieving the goals and repeating actions that yield positive results. So the idea is you have to move. You have to take action, whatever it is. If you're in a digital business, you have to type away. You have to study. You have to listen to videos. And then you repeat those things that are yielding you a positive result. And if you're really looking for a monetary goal, look at what actually makes money. Number three, building and maintaining positive relationships with people by giving first. This is an incredibly easy thing to do, that every day that you wake up, stop trying to take from a relationship. Try to find really positive people to be around, number one. And if you want to be really good at something, whether it's academics or athletics or sports, whatever it might be, you want to hang around with people who are really driven to achieve goals, to become better at that thing. But then when you're with them, give. Why? You're triggering the law of reciprocity. And the law of reciprocity is absolutely a critical thing to build at the base so you become habitually addicted to doing the right things, right? Number four, taking care of physical and mental health through exercise, healthy eating, and proper sleep. Now, I could argue that the healthy eating comes even before the exercise, but it's all of that if you want to be a high achiever and you want to be successful, you need energy. You can't be eating all this poor quality food. I mean, everything is so laden with chemicals. I am obsessed with trying to eat as organically and as healthily as possible, especially as I get older, because I want energy. In fact, I even tried getting off coffee lately, and that made a huge difference for me. I wasn't bonking at the end of the day. Still love my cup of tea, but I just got off the coffee and all of a sudden I could feel a change. So even little tweaks, but all of that combination of healthy eating and exercise, it really reduces the stress and it allows you at night to go to sleep and get real restorative sleep. I know there are people on the internet, they're saying, oh, you don't need much sleep, sleep. Even I like Schwarzenegger, like sleep faster, right? That's his line. I don't know. For me, I like my restorative sleep. I'm about a 10:30, 6:45 guy. It works for me. There are days like today, I woke up early because I was traveling. So sometimes that works, but get to know your biorhythm, your own biorhythm, what feels good. But you're going to see it's amazing when you're exercising and eating, you sleep deeper and you might not need as much sleep. You might not be so groggy. Number 5, practicing honesty, integrity to fortify strong character. I read Ben Franklin's autobiography. I can't remember when. I read it actually recently again. But Ben Franklin had this deal. Talk about goals, right? He had 13 virtues that he wrote down. And he would focus on one virtue at a time, and he would practice that throughout the week. And he would make a mark when he was doing it positively and make a mark when he wasn't. And I just thought this was really great. So he was being very honest with himself in a deep, virtuous way. And he was building this strong character, obviously. We hold Ben Franklin up there on some pretty high pedestal these days. Well, most of us do anyway. But I think if you read his autobiography, you'll see that practicing being honest with other people and especially yourself, you're building this integrity in order to fortify this strong character. So when you hear people, oh, that's a person of good character, well, that takes a habit of practice, just like Ben Franklin. Number 6, you have to be disciplined and consistent in your actions, especially when you don't feel like it. In fact, speaking about Brian Tracy, I think one of his greatest books, by title at least, is Eat That Frog. And it was in that book that when you talk about these goals and then the tasks to achieve them as a highly successful habit, you have to go after the ones that you least like to do. And Brian equates it to the equivalent of if you had a bunch of frogs to eat every day, you eat the biggest, ugliest one first and you get it out of the way. So you have to be disciplined and consistent in doing that over and over. One of my sons, in fact, is a hockey athlete, and he's gotten into a lot of road work, meaning running and lifting weights more so in the off season. And I can see he's really into it right now because something clicked, but will he be disciplined to do it on the days when he doesn't feel like it? And will that build a consistency? Because running in the rain, I told him, or running in the cold, that's the equivalent of eating a frog. Number 7, and the last one here I want to talk about today, continuous learning and self-improvement through reading, training, and seeking feedback. Now, the Japanese call this philosophy Kaizen. I read this long ago, and I believe in the context of, you can Google it and you'll get a nice Wikipedia definition, but Kaizen, I learned it in terms of Toyota and how they process things over time. But then in my business context, as I started to learn how to become more successful, I saw everything like a Henry Ford assembly line, Toyota, whatever you pick it, but I saw Henry because Henry was wildly successful in a time when everybody was making cars. How did Henry all of a sudden become the most successful? Well, he looked at the assembly line differently and he slowly and steadily improved it. If you really want to see what that looks like, Google a picture of early days Henry Ford assembly line. You're going to see a lot of people. It's kind of an ugly looking assembly line. And Google any sort of a modern day Tesla, Ford, whatever it might be. You're going to see all these machine tools. It's mind-boggling that that's only about, I don't know, call it 80 years of evolution, right? Maybe from the 1920s up to now, the 2020s. That's 100 years. And the improvement is mind-boggling, but it was slow and steady. So you go from macro or big ideas to micro and you tighten it up. Okay, so let me summarize it this way. The key point to the question, can better daily habits make you more successful, is that highly successful people practice daily self-discipline to live a healthy and virtuous life so that they can stay focused on creating daily goals and plans of action to achieve those goals while leaving a positive footprint as true givers. If you like these videos, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you know exactly when we post our next video.